Welcome back to Room 1-on-1 from the Homeboys. Our final Champions League match of the season, of this session, should I say, and it's a fucking massive game. Before I introduce our guests for the afternoon, let's get a wee lowdown on our English opponents. So Aston Villa were formed on the 21st of November 1874 by members of the Villa Cross Wesleyan Chapel in Handsworth, by members of the chapel's cricket side, Jack Hughes, Frederick Matthews, Walter Price and William Scattergood. Very much innovators and pioneers of the game itself, Scotsman George Ramsay was the first ever professional football club manager, and the club itself was very influential to professionalism in the game itself, with William McGregor founded the world's first football league in 1888. And then, of course, was a founding member of the English Premier League in 1992 as well. Of course, McGregor, the Scotsman, his influence was also the reason behind the lion and the badge, whilst the colours, varying so much at the beginning, landed on Clarendon Blue soon after the league started. So Villa have won the championship 7 occasions, the last being in 1980, 81, which of course we'll come back to in a minute. They also won the FA Cup on 7 occasions, the last in 1957. They've won the League Cup 5 times, 1996 3-0 win over Leeds being the most recent. However, the club's pinnacle came in 1982 when a Peter With 67-minute goal won a European Cup in Rotterdam, overcoming German champions Bayern. That team would then go on and win the European Super Cup later that year, beating Barcelona 3-1 over 2 legs. So, to help us look at Aston Villa, I am delighted to welcome Tony Bates to the show. Tony, how are you, pal?
I'm delighted to be here, and the knowledge of Aston Villa then is fantastic. Were you reading that, or was that just off the top of your head? Because I couldn't tell.
It's just in there. It's just
honestly,
in there.
That was fantastic. I think, thanks for inviting me. I'm really pleased to be here. I've got my Paul McGrath, especially here, the Paul McGrath top, especially here just for this show. So, I mean, my wife's office, she wasn't happy about changing the poster, but you got to do these things for the benefits of the crowd. You know, you got to do
100%, Tony boy, 100%. Paul McGrath. By the way, we could just sit and do a podcast just talking Paul McGrath.
What a guy. So my background, just before you ask the guest, is my mother is Irish and my granddad is Jamaican. So going to Ireland, I was raised as an Irish kid, so going to Ireland as as a look, I guess. A lot of people said Paul McGrath or Phil Babb. So Paul McGrath's got a special place in my heart, I guess, really. And I think the connections with Ireland and Celtic, I think, makes Wednesday a massive game.
That's brilliant, Tony. That's absolutely brilliant. I bet you never get any hassle when you were away in that.
No, I just got called Paul McGrath or Phil Babb. So I prefer Paul McGrath because Phil Babb was.
That's class. That's class. Well, right, Tony. As I say, you've introduced yourself a wee bit there, but tell me about Tony Bates. How is he an Aston Villa fan?
So Tony Bates is 46. I've got 2 boys who are 16 and 13. I was a very, very average footballer at a very, very low level. I've managed a team, but I think I've always loved the Villa. But my kids my kids said to me when they're younger, they said, Dad, I'll never like football. And it broke my heart, right? So, and then at 10 years old, they started to like football, and all the experiences recently with my kids has just kind of, it's given me a new love of it, I suppose, with the Villa, because I've had experiences with them that are fantastic, whether it's at Wembley or Champions League. And I never thought I'd have that experience, I suppose. So I love the Villa, but more importantly, I think I love the Villa with my boys, and it's given me I see football through their eyes now, and I'm not going to lie, the first Champions League music at Villa Park against, I cried, and my kids are going, what are you doing, Dad? I was like, I never thought I'd feel this, So yeah, big Villa fan. A lot of time for Celtic. They're probably my second team due to the connections and all that sort of stuff. So Wednesday is going to be an interesting game. But yeah, very average footballer at a low level. A couple of kids, massive Villa fan. I haven't got a season ticket, unfortunately, because there's 15,000 on the waiting list, but I'm a member and I go most home games, really, stick with my boys.
Well, we'll have a wee chat about that later on, about the kind of season ticket stuff like that, because there's a couple of wee things come up recently. It's intrigued me. But brilliant, Tony. That's excellent, mate. Excellent. Again, the tradition on the show is we kind of have a wee look back at last season, just to kind of see how we got to this position. And I'll fly through it, and then I'll ask your opinion at the end. As always, if you want to batter in, if something kind of pops in your head, just fire ahead. We'll go for it. Okay. So Unai Emery, who had replaced Steven Gerrard the previous October, started the summer as manager once again. The team's 7th place finish meant the team qualified for the Europa Conference League playoff round. League-wise, started pretty poorly. 5-1 battering after Newcastle, not great. But over the piece, I would say a good season. Despite some disappointing results and some pretty poor finishing, the team were good enough to finish the season in Champions League places and return to the European Cup / Champions League for the first time since that aforementioned final in 1982. So 38 games played, 20 wins, 6 draws, 12 losses, 74 goals scored, 61 conceded, plus 15 goal difference, 68 points on board, allowed a 4th place finish, edging out Tottenham by 2 goals and 14 points behind Liverpool in 3rd. In the League Cup, a 2-1 home defeat by Everton in September saw the trophy come and go. FA Cup, a wee bit better. A 1-0 win over Middlesbrough was followed by an away tie with Chelsea in the 4th round. A 0-0 meant the game went to replay, and then a 3-1 home defeat in early February saw that trophy go the same way. Now, Europe, a wee bit better. The playoff tie saw them tied with Hibs. 5-0 and then 3-0 saw Hibs totally battered. Meaning they were paired with Polish runners-up Legia Warsaw, AZ from the Eredivisie and Bosnian champions Mostar. An opening group defeat to Legia and a final away draw with the Bosnians paired with 4 wins. So Villa topped the group with 13 points, 1 ahead of Legia, progressing to the round of 16. A 0-0 draw with Ajax and Amsterdam was followed by a fantastic 4-0 win at home. I watched that in the telly and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
In the quarterfinals, 2-1 win over Lille saw the French team return the favour, but you would progress 4-3 in penalties. So then in semi-final, you see me got a decent draw, Olympiacos of Greece, and he's got a doing 4-2 at home, and then you were beat 2-0 to the eventual winners, and you were out 6-2, right? So that's the season kind of compact into a couple of paragraphs there. But for you, how was the season overall?
Well, first of all, your knowledge of the season is just, I can't believe your knowledge of Aston Villa. What do you need me on here for when you know more than me? But last season, I'd say, was the greatest season for me personally. And the reason for that is, I guess, we finished, when I took over from Gerrard, it was a really horrible time. It was, you know what it's like when they don't like the manager. The crowd and the fans weren't united. Everyone hated Gerrard, and Unai came in with a 17th. Took us to the Europa League, which didn't expect, and then it was a great season. You know, it was fantastic, and so last season we qualified for Champions League, which no one expected at all. And I think we're on that trajectory of just everything. But there's nothing better than winning when you don't expect to. If you're winning when you expect it, it's kind of. But we were winning and not expecting it. We didn't expect Champions League, and it was just the crowd. Everyone's united. Everyone loves the manager. Everyone loves the owners. We're united. We've got some players from Birmingham that are playing. So everything went our way, and I think everything we did, if it was a close game, any 50-50 went our way, and we finished 4th. It was a phenomenal season for us. You can't, we didn't have many more players than when we finished. We were 17th when I took over. We didn't have a very different squad. So what he's done, he's elevated these players to a different level. It's not like he's going to spend lots of money and transformed us. He's transformed the feeling around the club, and it was phenomenal to qualify for Champions League. Now, the challenge with that is the expectation changes, doesn't it? So now we suddenly think we should be beating whoever it been, Brighton, Bournemouth, these kind of teams, when really, when you look at it, we're not that different to how we were, the previous season when we were 17th. But in terms of what Unai's done to the club, he's been, the best manager I can remember realistically in my years as a manager. Lots of good ones, but what Unai has done and the faith he's got is tremendous. However, this season the expectation has changed, and we probably expect to win when we probably shouldn't, and that means that the club is probably at the moment we're in an interesting stage. I think it's the first time against Monaco in the press conference. Unai was not himself. He took it out on some players. We were really poor. So last season, phenomenal. Everyone loved it. We're on an upward trajectory. This season, our expectations are probably higher than they should be, which means that there's just a disappointment, I suppose, when we lose. Whereas before, if we lost the season before, we'd have gone, well, that's fair enough. We're not as good as those guys. Whereas now our expectations as fans, I think, are probably higher than the quality of the squad that we've got.
Yeah, it is mega interesting, right? Because a lot of my listeners and the guys that listen to us, there is hatred's maybe too harsh, but there's a lot of kind of resentment towards the English Premier League because you basically got it drummed in your throat. This is the greatest. This is the greatest, and we're often kind of so there is a bit of resentment towards that league, but there is a definite appreciation of how tough the fucking league is. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
If we go back to the Martin O'Neill, and Martin O'Neill spent a shitload of money, and he got you fourth. And he wanted to take the next step, and under I think it was Randy Lerner at the point, he wasn't really prepared to kind of spend all that money. And Unai Emery, and it's interesting to talk about it because we obviously have went through it with Martin O'Neill, and we went through it with Brendan Rodgers. Took guys who you deemed shit. This guy's hopeless. He's transformed them into a player, and it's unfair because the next step, as you say. In the English Premier League, you've got to spend that multi-millions. You've got to build on what you've got.
Absolutely. I think our signings this season, I think we signed 6 players, and I don't think any of them have really played other than Onana. So our signings this year probably haven't worked. So we've got Onana, who's made of glass and keeps getting injured. We've got Maxson, who hasn't played much. Barkley, who's played a little bit, and then we've got a couple of the guys that we signed and went on loan. So our signings this year, if you look at them, haven't really worked. And I think what we've done historically is we've signed well, whereas this season, the signings haven't really worked. And I think it feels like there's a bit of frustration from Emery in a lot of ways. PSR has been really tough to us. We can't progress with the revenue we're making. So there's a bit of unrest in the club, I'd say, in that ticket prices have gone up. I think it's 80 quid now for a ticket price for a Champions League game for adults and kids. However, we're now 18th in the incoming revenue in the European club. So we're doing the right things in terms of getting us where we want to get to. But in terms of the off-the-field stuff, the fans are a little bit disengaged, I would say, with the club because of the pricing and pricing out all these. So where we're trying to get to is great, but it also means that we're having to sort of maybe lose some fans and upset people along the way.
Yeah, by the way, you must have watched the show because your segues are fantastic here. I'm like working with a pro here. I was going to come on to the signings, and we'll go and have a look at them in a second. But just to come back to your point, it really is a kind of a bit of circumstance, is it? I mean, like I don't know if you ever watched the show about Salford and all the Gary Neville and stuff like that, and how they wanted to grow and become bigger, and their traditional fan base were all that. Well, we liked it here. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's almost to get to where you're going to get, you're going to have to make huge decisions. I was going to ask you later on about the ticket pricing because it is a big thing. Huge. But for you guys to keep, I mean, when I first heard about the PFF thing about the prices and stuff like that, and you couldn't spend all at that point, it seemed something that suited Man United in Man City, and it's almost as if they closed the door on guys like you and Newcastle. Newcastle have got these billionaires and they're not allowed to spend it. Do you know what I mean? And it seems.
And this is a challenge. We had to sell our best player last year, Dougie Luiz, who we loved. And one of my things about Dougie Luiz is we never had a song for him, so I always felt kind of guilty that for 4 years everyone loved him, but we never sang the song about him in the crowd. But anyway, so we had to lose Dougie Luiz last year for PSR, and then you're looking at him maybe being signed by Forest, who broke the law last year, and then struggling, and suddenly they just go out and spend 200 million. You're thinking, what? So I think there's a bit of frustration on that side for us, really, where we've got to be a bit creative in the transfer market. And the rumour at the moment, I guess where we're at the moment, just for any Celtic fans that don't know, is this is a real pivotal time for us. We've got 2 league games against West Ham today, and then we've got Wolves. We've got you guys on Wednesday, which decides whether we go to the top 8 or not. And then we've also got Tottenham in the 4th round of the Cup. So the next 4 games for us is really pivotal. At a time when it's January transfer window, and there's talk of John Duran being sold to a Saudi club for 100 million. So we've got a few internal. It feels to me from an outside perspective that it's just a little bit of unease, because you imagine going into a changing room and you're looking at John Duran thinking, are you going to go, are you going to stay, are you staying? There just feels there's a little bit of uncertainty, unrest in the club at the moment. So it's probably the time that you guys, good time to play us. However, Villa at home and Villa away are two completely different sides. If you look at our results, home, great, even though we haven't played well. I'll probably say we played well for 90 minutes twice this season. So again, that's expectation being risen. But and away we are poor, I would say, really. So I think if we're playing at your place, I wouldn't be confident at all. Coming at our place, we've got a chance, but I still think there's a lot of respect for Celtic and certainly your fans in terms of what you can do. So I think it'll be a really interesting game on Wednesday, and it could go either way.
Brilliant, Tony. Brilliant. Right, I'm going to pull you back just a wee second. Right, so like I say, I usually talk about the ins and outs, but see what you've just told me about Douglas Luiz. I don't even think I knew that, and it makes so much sense, right? I generally fire through these, but what you've just said to me about bringing the income makes a lot of this make sense to me, right? So you said a guy called first Morgan Sampson, French midfielder, joined Nice, whilst Sebastian Revan departed for Wrexham. Fellow left back Ben Chirizini, left for Norwich. All three for undisclosed fees, right? So Ray on Tim Arrowburnham, a 21-year-old midfielder with 19 first-team games, joined Everton for 9 million. Whilst fellow midfielder, 19-year-old Omari Kellyman, with 6 first-team games, joined Chelsea for 19 million. Now, I was stunned by these numbers. I was stunned by them because, I know English League, 9 million for a potential isn't much, but for us, it's huge, yeah. But I was wondering, why are you guys selling your potential? I mean, you guys that's your, and then as you say, it all makes sense now, huh?
Well, this is the whole thing with PSR is that you make it benefits you by selling your young players. So I think if you look at Newcastle sold a guy called Elliot Anderson to Forest for 35 million. There was something going on in the background there between the teams, Everton, Chelsea, and Villa, that was kind of manipulative around the system to create loopholes. But ultimately, the PSR, it seems like you benefit from selling your young players now.
Because it's 100% profit.
There's nothing better than standing in the stands and watching a lad that's local. We've got Rogers at the moment. We've got Ramsey. Local lads, and there's nothing better than watching local lads. However, the PSR is driving it to sell those players. It's got to change. But
it's working right, isn't it? Isn't it working right? I mean, you think about these guys. They've come up through your academy. They're in a lot of the situations. Their family will be there. And you're getting young guys leaving Birmingham and going down to London, and you're kind of going, fucking hell.
It's crazy, we had Chukwuemeka who went to Chelsea, so we've signed well. We've signed a lot of youth, but the PSR is broken. So Dougie Luiz leaving we had to sell last season, really. Dougie Luiz, Martinez, or Watkins, and I think Dougie was the one that we went for, unfortunately. But it's hard that he had to go, and we signed Onana, who's coming from Everton, 50 million. I think that there was a Lewis Dobbin deal in there that kind of made it work. But there's so many loopholes in PSR. I think Chelsea sold their women's team to Chelsea men's team to create revenue so they could sign more players. You're thinking, come on, this is absolute. So it's bollocks, isn't it? It's absolute bollocks. There's a lot of, ultimately what you want is fair. I get the PSR rulings, but the way it works at the moment has to change. So we've struggled with that, and I think the signings we've made haven't worked really. Realistically, the only one to say worked is Illing Jr., who went on loan to Bologna and scored against Borussia Dortmund on Wednesday to give us a chance to finish in top 8. So our best signing is probably someone that's playing for someone else who scored against the team that we play. So our signings haven't worked. But if you watch the Emery conference after Monaco, he was fuming.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
He called out players. I've never seen him do that at all ever. And you're just thinking, what's going on here? And Duran could be great, but I think there's an issue there, because if you've ever played football yourselves, or I know your kid was playing this morning, if you've got someone who's got a big attitude who's not playing, it impacts the changing room. And, I think there's something deeper there, and I think he probably needs to be sold for us to progress as a team. But so I think it's a good, in terms of where we're at the moment. It feels a bit like what's going on? There's something going on here. We've got upwards like that, and we're probably just kind of plateauing now, and before we go again. So. Yeah, interesting times and interesting dynamics, I think, going into the team.
It really is. I mean, I'm all for things trying to make football more fair, but it doesn't. It seems to the side effects of the PSI stuff I don't think it's worth it. You know, I mean, I've got to admit. I mean, I'm seeing you sold Diaby for 50 million to Al Ittihad. I mean, that obviously bloody helps. But so we'll have a look at your ins, right, and we'll go through them, right. So the young centre back Ethan Adamson Day joined from Copenhagen. Left winger Lewis Dobbin joined from Everton. We spoke about that for 10 million. Ian Matson, after that great season with Dortmund last year, signed for Chelsea for 37.5. Omar Kedri was signed from Z in Egypt for around 2.5. Samuel Ling Jr. and Enzo Barrenechea were signed from Juventus for 11.9 and 6.8 respectively. Ross Barkley joined the club for 5. Young forward Max Jenner signed a free for West Brom. Amadou Onana scored on the debut. The Belgian midfielder was signed for Everton for 50 million. Leon Ruth, centre-half, also picked up for Luton. Colombian centre-back, Yimar Mosquera, does undisclosed fee. And then in this window, just recently, he signed Daniel Malin after an underwhelming time in Germany. He was signed for Dortmund for 21.5 million. And then Andres Garcia was signed for 6 million for Levante. So it's interesting. My next question then would have been, you've had a look at these guys, who are the... But if you're saying kind of, I mean, Onana's a great player, but if he's no fucking playing, he's a terrible player. You know what I mean?
Well, Onana's an interesting one because he's kind of he's done okay, but I still don't. If he replaced Dougie Luiz, who I absolutely loved, and I still would say I'd have Dougie over him every day. He's had a good start. He's okay, but I haven't seen. You know, you're looking for those magic moments from 50 million players where you go, wow,
100%.
I haven't seen that yet, but. He's young, you know. We sign youth, and we try and grow those players. And there's definitely a philosophy and a project that we've got there. So, you know, historically we've signed players, and you're thinking, what are we doing there? You know, whereas you can see now we're signing young talent that we can sell on for more money if we need to. Duran, for example, was I think 30 million at the time, or no, maybe 20 million. You know, we could get 80 million from this transfer window by the sound of the bids that are coming in. So we signed sensibly, but I'm not seeing anything for Nana that makes us a better team. So if you look at us, last season we were a better team than we are this season, but we signed 6 players. So, you know, has our transfer policy worked? No, it hasn't, because we're not as good as we were last year. There's no doubt about that for me.
Especially when you get into the Champions League.
Of course, yeah. And I think we got into the Champions League, but more importantly, the way we played and free-flowing, I found it, I hate to say it, but I found it quite difficult to watch us this year because we're just not clicking. We've got McGinn, who's been out, who obviously there's a big connection with you guys. You know, hopefully he's back for Wednesday. It's a huge game for him personally and professionally. But yeah, our signings we're not better than we were last season. Now, will those signings come through and develop and make us better long term? Hopefully, but there's nothing there that I'm seeing at the moment that says that is the case. So we're in transition, I guess, but we're still, you know, we could finish in the top 8. We could, I think, with 3 or 4 points off the top 4. So we're not playing well. We're not doing very well. Our signings haven't worked, but we're still in with a shout in all competition. So, you know, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. It depends. Again, this is all expectation, isn't it? Our expectations are probably higher now. So we're in a chance for the top 8. We're 3 points off the top 4. We're still in the cups. And we haven't even played. We played well once this season, which was against Bayern Munich, in my opinion. Bayern Munich, sorry.
Interesting. Right, so you touched on a few guys there. So why don't we kind of get into the squad as is, and you can kind of tell us your opinion on them, right? So unlike usually when I do this, I'm bordering on total ignorance because I've never heard of half of the people, but obviously Aston Villa's a bit different, right? So the guys I've picked out straight away, right? So you've got a World Cup winning goalkeeper who's a crackpot, right? So you've got Martinez in goals who. I've watched all your highlights, and I stress just highlights. He looks a mega important player for your team.
He's the best keeper I've ever seen at Aston Villa. He's phenomenal. Wow. This season, for the first time, he's probably made a couple of mistakes that he'd say himself, but I mean, he's phenomenal. Like, you know, he's phenomenal. Some of the saves he makes, he will make probably one save every 2 games that he shouldn't make. So he's absolutely phenomenal. I think in the changing room, he's a leader, he's a winner. He wants to
character as well.
So he's fantastic in the changing room. Now, the only reason I don't like the story I have, I was at a restaurant and Emmy was there, and I've got a big thing about selfies with footballers. So I'm a real geek in terms of I want to get like photos with C-list or famous people. So Emmy was in a restaurant. I went over. I said to my mates, "Look, I'm going to go over and have a photo with Emmy." They went, "Please don't do that. Please don't do it." I went over after he'd finished his starter and asked for a photo, and he said, "I'm eating, mate. Clear off." So he's a great goalkeeper, but I just don't like him for that reason. So, but that's a personal thing, really. But just give me the photo. I mean, it was like, and he embarrassed me in front of my friends, and I had to sit there for the whole meal while he ate, humiliated, pretending I was on my phone the whole time. So I love him, but I can't love him. I love him as a player, but as a person, I'll never. I can't like cheer him at ground because
the bond's broken.
he humiliated me in a restaurant for it was horrible. So great goalkeeper, great player, but just take the selfie at me.
I can't empathise that because I hate selfies. I fucking couldn't think of anything worse than that.
I don't like selfies, but I like pictures with semi-famous people. I don't know why. I've got a few geometry in, but it's just.
I'm sorry for laughing.
Every person that knows me is embarrassed to be around me when there's anyone that's like a footballer or whatever. So please, Tony, please, you're embarrassing. You're 46 years old. You're trying to get a photo with like a third division footballer, but this was a World Cup winner, so it's quite difficult. So yeah, Emmy, phenomenal goalkeeper. If you see his save against Forest, I believe you've seen that.
Do you know? I just watched it 2 minutes ago.
It's the best save, not just as a Villa fan. It's the best save I've ever seen. And that's from someone who doesn't want to like him because he didn't let me take a selfie. But that honestly, mate, the save was just sensational. It was like blew me away. So he's been integral to our success in terms of the change room and off the field in terms of what he's done. So he's a phenomenal goalkeeper.
I mean, so the next guy is obviously John McGinn. I don't think we really need to go in about John McGinn. You brought up his name earlier on. See the boy Ramsey, Jacob Ramsey. I like him, but if you're watching your highlights recently, what's the name of the boy? Morgan Rogers. Looks like a superstar. Looks like, I've got to admit, Giraffe's pause, because I've heard his name, but I didn't know anything about him. And I've watched the highlights and I'm going, what a player that boy is.
So we play a 4-2-3-1. I don't know if you know that. So we play 4-2-3-1. So Rogers has been playing the number 10 role.
Right.
We signed him from Middlesbrough out of nowhere. He was at Man City's academy. We signed him from Middlesbrough, and all the Middlesbrough fans online were going, "This guy's shite." You know what you signing for? Yeah. So out of the blue, and then suddenly he's just come through, and he's probably probably not saying this, but he's the closest thing I've seen to Gaz. I know it's a really big statement because Gaz was tremendous. I know he played for Rangers, so you won't like it, but you know,
don't know who you're talking about, mate.
Yeah. But however, what's probably happened with Ramsey is he's probably got. I mean, against Arsenal, he's tremendous. He carries the ball, picks the ball up, and he'll run at players. Now, when he plays against the top teams, he chooses his moments to do that. Whereas he plays against the weaker teams, and he just wants to dribble and take everyone on straight away. So he's probably again, there's a theme here with Villa. Victor with his own success. He's that good now. When he plays the lower teams, from Monaco, for example, he was awful. He just wants to take everyone on all the time, whereas the good teams will pick and choose his moments. So his decision making needs to improve, but he has been phenomenal for us. You know, and again, he's a local lad. You know, Ramsey was tremendous for us, and Rogers has come in and overtaken him really. So, but Ramsey's got a couple of injuries, hasn't been himself. So, but Rogers could be phenomenal. But our player of the season this year so far is probably Tielemans.
Right, okay. I mean, who's been an excellent player? I mean, when Leicester got him, it was a major surprise, and I was actually really surprised that they get relegated with a player like him in their team. But to pick him up, you got him for nothing, didn't you? You signed him for nothing for them as well.
Well, we signed Tielemans for nothing, Kamara for nothing, and McGinn was $2.5 million. But Tielemans is he's the one that's made us tick, and he's probably been our most consistent player this season. But yeah, Rogers, Tielemans is probably our player of the season this year, and then we've got a slight issue up front, I suppose, in that we've got two players that are both good enough to play up front that are battling each other, but then can't get a run of games to get that consistency going.
You were talking about the formation there. I had to be looking. It looked like he started 4-4-2 earlier in the season. I think it was against Everton and Arsenal, and I don't know if that was the plan then. But he's stuck to this formation. The one guy up front. and John Duran's going to get all the headlines because some of the goals he's got. I mean, there was a wee purple patch there at the start of the season where he could have fucking pulled his volley out and he would have scored a goal for it. Do you know what I mean? It was stunning. I've got to admit, see Watkins gets the start. Who's the better player in your opinion?
I love Ollie Watkins. I think he gets a lot of stick from Villa fans, but he's our top goal scorer. I think he's going to have 100 goal contributions in the Premier League. I think the last player to do that as quick as him was Kevin De Bruyne. So statistically, he's phenomenal. Also, what Ollie does is he stretches teams. So I think when he's not scoring, he'll run behind, gives more space to midfielders. So his work rate is phenomenal. He's going to be our top goal scorer in the Premier League. I would start Ollie every time. Duran has that X factor and a wow factor, but he's also a little bit, cocky and a little bit kind of, So I think there's a battle there. Ollie Watkins has only been good when he hasn't had competition. So Danny Ings was there before, and he struggled. But so Ollie's had a poor season, I'd probably say himself, but he's still got 10 goals, I think, in 22 games. So for a poor season, and he's still scoring one every two, as a striker, yeah, I'd play Ollie every time. So I think we'll sell Duran in his transfer window, personally.
Right. I mean, again, it touches on what we were saying earlier on. I mean, West Ham have obviously gave that bid, what upset the club, I was led to believe. But I've been hearing, I was listening to, I think it was Andy Brassel talking about it just this week, and they were talking about the standard and the level he's got. For me, it would be infuriating to see a guy this good go to Saudi Arabia. It's infuriating. But how? I mean, he's better than West Ham, isn't he?
Scott, me and you would do it though, wouldn't we? If someone said for this podcast,
oh no, hey, don't.
You do it straight away. But yeah, I agree. I think, but for us as a club, I think we'd love to, if we could get 80 million for him now. We'll take it, and I think there's talk of us trying to sign Cunha from Wolves instead. So again, I think the point with that for you guys, I guess, is there's a lot going on in the background at the moment.
Yeah.
That means that we're not fully focused on what we need to do and what we need to achieve. We've got a game today. I think the thing with all that and the stuff going on in the changing room, we're not where we need to be headspace wise or team wise or club wise togetherness. So I'm going into Wednesday really nervous because of those things, I suppose.
Well, that's hugely interesting because I never even thought about. You'd mentioned the 4 games all coming in the bounds, and I have to say when I kind of did look at it, and we we're going to have two games in January, especially the end of January, not even the start of January, and then the transfer window. I was thinking this could cause chaos, and I would maybe have understated your problems in terms of financially equalising everything and stuff. But so I'd like you to tell us, just as a kind of side thing about this young fella, Lewis Barry, but I'd like you also to tell us about the defence, because I'm looking at the defence, and whilst there's a few well-known names, so obviously Tyrone Mings in the Club Bruise game and stuff like that, and I know he's just back for a long-term injury. You've got Matty Cash, who's a very good attack-minded player. Pau Torres, I believe he's injured. Lucas Digney. There's nobody in that defence I'm sitting going, boom, superstar.
I agree. I think Combs is great. Combs is very good. I think good defenders sometimes you don't notice them, they're not doing spectacular things. I think unless you watch them every week, if I watch any team and I watch it from afar, you never go, that defender's amazing. You got to watch them week in, week out. So Combs is tremendous, but has had an average season. Mings is a leader, but is he good enough for where we want to get to? I think we've always been sort of mid-table or whatever we need to be. We want to push into that top 6 now. Is Mings at that level? I'm not sure, but he's got a lot of credit in the bank. He's a great leader off the pitch. Luca Dean's probably been our most consistent player for 12 months alongside Tielemans. So he's actually been really solid. Matty Cash is, again, probably in the Mings status. Great for where we were, maybe not good enough for where we want to get to. So the defence is a worry. We don't keep clean sheets. We concede a lot of goals. But Konza and Mings have played together for a long time, and I think they're most comfortable together as a partnership, and probably better than their individual parts because of the partnership and how long they played together. So I think Mings has made a couple of mistakes, doesn't move the ball out quick enough. I think there's a lot of, Pau Torres is probably not as good defensively, but he's passing out the back is tremendous. So Mings and Konza are, Luca Dini's solid. My son doesn't rate him and thinks Matson's better, but I always say, he's the left back for the French national team and got man of the match against Italy last game. He's solid and done really well. He's probably our most improved player and probably our most consistent. So Luca Dini, I don't worry about.
Because there was a point he were trying to get shot here, man.
Yeah, well, I think 94% of our income goes on salaries, so or along those lines, something crazy. So I think Luca D is one of our highest paid. So I think the reasons for off getting rid of him were more around salary more than his ability. Okay. But yeah, I think Mings is obviously he's always got a clanger in him. He always he's always got that mistake in him and can be amazing. But in the air, heading away, when corners come in when Mings is playing, I'm confident. When he's not, then he's not. So, but Cons was great. Matty Cash, again, he's probably not. I always struggle to slag off players when you're because you're not a fan if you do that. I suppose I think Matty Cash would be brilliant for us, but he's probably not as good as where we want our right back to be to get to where we want to get to. I suppose.
Yeah.
Louis Barry, really interesting one with you guys, isn't it? I think he was for us coming through. When you've got this youth player that's scoring loads of goals. He was probably. I remember reading about Michael Owen coming through saying this guy.
That's right. I remember that myself.
Louis Barry was equivalent to that, and he came through and played in the cup against Liverpool. We played all our kids, and he scored against Liverpool. And then he just hasn't kicked on. Whether he's lightweight, but he's gone to Stockport, and I don't know if you've seen his goals collection. They are, and you're thinking, come on, Louis, you can do it. So I actually think it'd be a great signing for Celtic. We've called him back. I'm not sure if we've called him back whether to play him or to sell him, but again, he's a local lad that's come through. He's probably, I can only imagine as a footballer when you're coming through and everyone says you're going to be the best thing ever, how you still stay motivated as a kid to do that. I always remember my nan saying to me that I'll be a great driver, and I just presumed I would be rather than working towards it. So I can only presume as a footballer when someone says you are going to be the next big thing, do you rest on your laurels? I don't know.
Take your eye off the ball, but
Of course, you just presume that's going to be the case. Everyone tells you that. So he was phenomenal. Really, it's great to see him doing well. I think he'd be a phenomenal signing for you guys, and I think he'd do well. Again, he had the potential of Michael Owen, but has probably not gone to where he wants to. But Stockport, his goals collection is up there with Olivier Giroud's.
Aye, brilliant. That's excellent, mate. Right, last man on the squad, right? So, as we spoke about earlier, you're kind of selling your young guys. Who are the new Louis Barry? Who's the new guys coming through? Because I'm looking at your squad and you have got a young team, and it seems to be you've got that attitude of we've got to keep producing guys. So, I mean, is there anybody coming through that we kind of need to keep an eye on?
Well, you look at our youth setup. If you look at the infrastructure, I think we won the Youth Cup. So we signed really well. We've got a lad from Scotland actually. Is it someone Wilson? Right, it might be Ryan Wilson who's banging the goals. Who scored?
Did you sign him for Rangers? Is that right?
Correct. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
So our youth team is really strong. We've signed a lot of the youth players that come to Villa. We are the team to go to. I think really. Right. So I think in terms of that, we've got some really good players. We've got a lad called Young that's coming through who's in the squad. We've got Bogard who's I think under 21 captain. So there's lots of youth coming through, but can it go to that level? Have you got those superstars that can get you to that next level? With the infrastructure of the club is the strongest I've ever known it. No doubt about it. Yeah,
it's interesting when you mentioned it earlier on that last season, obviously you did this great finish and it kind of took you all by surprise, and everybody supports Emery. But you're all very content with the ownership of your club. It's if you get, Brendan Rodgers says it all, if you can get the club, the fans, and the players on one thing, you can shoot for the stars. But that's interesting what you say, because there's no many people out there who are content with everything at their team. Do you know?
Everything the ownership has done is been for the good of the club. I think that you can't fault them. And we were going to go out of business, I think, just before they took over, and we were in trouble. So they'd be brilliant.
That's right. Yeah, Christ,
they're
Steve Bruce
for the club. Yeah, they're trying to trying to rebuild the stadium and grow it. So everything they're doing is phenomenal. I think the biggest, I've got a mate that messages me after every game we lose, saying how terrible we are and all that sort of stuff. Because
we've all got mates like that.
Our expectation is higher than it should be based on where we are as a club, I think. But Emery, Emery for me could lose 10 games in a row and I still support him. He is phenomenal, but I do worry about the what's going on, because that interview in the conference was so unlike him.
Yeah.
And I do worry that there's something deeper there. If you look at sort of the psychology of all these things, it just worried me, I guess. And
Right.
he's frustrated. What does that mean? I've never heard him single out players until after Monaco. So there's something going on, I think, in Villa that concerns me at the moment. However, sometimes when you're going up, you have to go like that before you go again. I think we're probably there at the moment before we go again. Or my natural pessimism as a Villa fan just thinks it's all going to go to shit,
Oh,
which is,
yeah.
that's kind of like, we've enjoyed it, it's going to go wrong now. But yeah, I think there's a worry there internally. But we've got some really good young players. Rodgers is young, Anana's 21, so it's a good young team. But Kamara, our defensive midfield player, is a Rolls Royce. So he's a player that you don't notice until he's not playing. And he come back from his ACL and he wins so much ball in there. So he's really important to us as that sort of CDM winning ball for us.
Perfect. And then once again, you're like a professional here, mate. That's a perfect segue just to get into this season as it is. Again, I'll just fire through these. So league-wise, a decent start. 2 defeats from the first 10 games, 5 wins, 3 draws, saw Villa in 6th place, 7 points off in Liverpool. Since then, no so great. Some disappointing results offset with some good ones, and currently the team's sit with an unbeaten 4 league games. So with 22 games played, 10 wins, 6 draws, 6 defeats, 33 goals scored, 34 conceded, -1 GD, 36 points on board, 8 points or 8th place, a point off of Bournemouth in 7th, 2 points ahead of Brighton in 9th, 2 points off of Man City in the Europa League spot, a further 2 off Chelsea in 4th in the Champions League spot, and of course 14 points off of Liverpool on top, who's having a season that's blown everybody away. In the League Cup, a good away win over Wolves in September, saw a home tie with Crystal Palace, a poor 2-1 defeat, saw them out early again. In the FA Cup, a 2-1 home win over West Ham, coming back from an early visitors' goal, and that means that Villa will host Tottenham Hotspur early in February in Villa Park in the 4th round. Now, Champions League started great and has failed. Slow start, but ultimately a fantastic 3-0 away win over Young Boys. Kicked it off great. Then that 1-0 win over Bayern Munich, which you have called the best performance on the 2nd of October. Another 2-0 home win, this time over Bologna. Things were looking great at this point. These were tipped to win the bloody thing at that point. And then a mad 1-0 defeat to Club Brugge and that penalty. And then a 0-0 at home with Juventus, which could have went either way, going by him. And then that was followed by the late 3-2 win over RB Leipzig. As you said, defensively, it was a bit all over the place, but you get yourself over the line. And then you had that disappointing 1-0 defeat by Monaco, which leads to this week's match. So over 7 games, Villa have qualified for the playoffs and sit in 9th place. 4 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats, 9 goals scored, 4 conceded, plus 5 GD, 13 points on board. Level, but a goal worse off than 8th place by a Leverkusen and 2 goals better than Monaco in 10th. So you've already kind of touched on it. I'm going to ask you again. The season so far, whilst it's not went on the upward trajectory, there must have been a point early doors you're thinking, we're looking fantastic. But as it's a bit bumpy now, eh?
Well, I think it's similar to what I was saying earlier. I think we when you go from 1st to 7th, or 1st to 9th, it's very different from going 17th to 9th because you're on the upward trajectory. So I think we started so well, and I think we faded off. But it's more importantly, our performances have been so poor. But if you break down our results that you've just said, and again, your knowledge of Aston Villa is phenomenal. It's our home results. I think we're only defeated in 10 or 11 at home, whereas away it's like watching 2 different teams. So again, I think if you look at those performances, most of them are away where we've been poor. At home, we get a result and we're okay. But I think going from 1st to 9th is very different from going 17th to 9th because we're going into this game. If we were going into this game having been 17th and 9th, we'd be like, right, we're going up. Whereas we've got down, we've got to go back up again. We know that's a lot harder. So it's been great. We started well, but the biggest worry for me is we're just not playing well. We played okay against Arsenal, but the biggest thing for me is you just don't know what Villa you're going to get when they turn up. And whereas last season you were like, right, this is how we're going to play, this is what we're going to do. There was a consistency to our tactics, to our performances. Whereas now you're kind of going in thinking what Villa's going to turn up today. So that's the difference between last season and this season is consistency is just not there.
Has it been? I mean, there really shouldn't be, because last year you were still competing in Europe right up until the late stages of the Conference League. So these midweek games shouldn't really have been any different. But has there been a case of kind of changing the team around for your Champions League stuff?
Yeah, I think the work last season in the conference we could play a weakened team realistically.
Right.
Whereas
Okay.
in the
Good
Champions
point.
League,
Good point.
so there's a lot of players that look tired. I think there's a lot of injuries we're getting. So I think the difference between last season is Conference League we could play a team that was probably reserves, whereas this season every game matters. So
Interesting.
we haven't really
Hugely
had that
interesting.
rest and rotated and again, we've only got two fit centre backs at the moment. So we've only got Konza and Mings. Diego Carlos has gone to Fenerbahce. So we've actually only got two fit centre halves at the moment. So on Wednesday or today, if one of those centre halves get injured, we're struggling. We might Bogard could play there, but yeah, don't. Yeah. So 4:30 today, if someone gets injured, we've got no centre half. So I'm waiting for the call up. To be fair, so I can still do. I can still do the job
I think
there.
the man behind you will get a shout before you.
Yeah. Well, listen, he can still do it. He never trained and he still played. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I think we're in a position. So defensively, I think last season, as I say, the Europa League, but again, we still or Conference League. So we still didn't win away. So home we're okay. So I think the only thing on Wednesday is we're at home. But what does he do today against West Ham in terms of selection? Does he rest players focusing on Wednesday? Because today's important against West Ham as well. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what selection he goes for today and what players he plays on Wednesday, because we haven't got that many players in form at the moment.
Mm-hmm. That is really interesting with the other games. See, right. So before we jump into Wednesday stuff and get to the home straight of this pod, I'm going to bring you back to something you mentioned right at the beginning. So you says you've not got a season ticket, but through kind of means you generally get to games, which means you're obviously playing. I would guess paying a premium rather than the less tickets. I've been watching the overlap of recently, right? I really do enjoy it, and
Yeah.
and the one they speak to the fans. Paul Scholes and Carragher speak to the fans, and it's always interesting hearing the Liverpool guys and the Nottingham Forest guys talking about how the change to legacy fans. So legacy fans, like guys like myself who've been going 100 years, guys like you who are always going to support your team, but almost the Premier League clubs, the owners want rid of the guys. They want the guys who come over, buy a ticket at the top price, spend all their money in the shop, buy all the crap food. I mean, do you get that smell from your team? Obviously, the pricing of the tickets came out and it caught everybody by surprise. It was big news up here. We were all talking about it. Like Aston Villa have done that. That's their first time back in the Champions League. It makes sense in terms of trying to get your finances up, but it does kind of stink, doesn't it, really?
Well, you say that, but there's the same fans that are moaning that we're not signing big players and we're not spending enough money.
Well, it's,
so I think you can't have it both ways, can you? Do you want your team to stagnate and not move forwards, or do you want to? You can't kind of go. We're charging ridiculous prices and then moan that we're not signing £100 million player. So I guess you just got to work out as a fan. I think do you want us to be a top four team? Because you have to kind of. Times have moved on, aren't we? We're paying ridiculous amounts for electric, for gas, for red sauce. Everything's gone up in price, hasn't it, really? So I'm more pissed off about the price of red sauce than about the Villa's pricing, because at least I get benefit from a good player. I mean, red sauce.
Tony, the price of butter kills me more than red sauce.
So I think of all the things in the world at the moment where the price has gone up, the Villa tickets for me are probably the one that pisses me off the least, I guess, because at least I'm seeing benefits on the pitch. However, yeah, it does price out a traditional fan, but we have to make those sacrifices to move forwards. What they say, you have to break some eggs to make an omelette, kind of thing. So I think, yeah, I get why people complain about it, but then if you do complain about the pricing, then you can't complain about our transfer policy, I guess. So it's one or the other, isn't it? So I think, yeah, it's frustrating. It cost me 240 quid to take me and the kids to the Champions League game as opposed to 120 last year, double the price.
Wow.
But I'd also say it was double the experience. So for me, it was like £240 for a moment. I'll never forget. I was crying like So yeah, pricing is frustrating, but pricing is frustrating in every walk of life, I guess. But at least we we get the benefits of seeing good quality football in Champions League for the extra price that we paid. But I get it's not nice, is it, when you got to pay more money? But I'm more pissed off with the government for charging me 4 times the Europe for my electric than I am about the Villa tickets. To be fair, so if I'm going to pick my battles about my pricing, it's going to be electric and gas more than Villa.
Aye. God, we could do another pod on that as well.
Listen, don't start me on politics.
I know. I'm the same.
Listen,
I can hear my missus going, "Fucking don't mention it, don't."
No, my missus goes, do not mention Elon Musk for God's sake, because he'll go off the wall. So there's lots of there's lots of I guess
it's fair. It's fair what you're saying. I mean, I think that the English League have got that £30 away thing. I think that's brilliant. I think that's excellent. It was son in Scotland. We definitely should have it, and it was always a thing. I mean, it was only a few years ago. I think it was a Liverpool guy who was going, "We don't actually need the money from the fans because we get this obscene amount of money from Sky and selling the rights and stuff like that." But at your point, if you're going to be spending 90% of your income on wages, it needs to come from somewhere, doesn't it? You've kind of got to cut somewhere, however nice it is.
And it is difficult because, the old school like me and you can't beat the old days, can you? Getting you can't beat those days, but times have changed, haven't they? You've got to accept that, I guess. And I think Chris Heck, who's our marketing director, I think he was at Coca-Cola or something crazy. He's had a big job. So, but our revenue has increased massively, and he's done his job to where we want to get to. We can sign better players, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a difficult balance. But again, I think if I was going to be angry about any of the pricing that's gone up in the world, it probably wouldn't. If I was going to pick my battles, it wouldn't be Aston Villa Football Club. It would be again the things I mentioned earlier. So yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, it's not good, but we're trying to be a big club, and we haven't been there for a while, and we're back.
Yeah.
We've only got a 40,000 stadium, so we can't make the revenue that you guys. Well, obviously English League's very different, but your stadium. I haven't been there, but I'd love to go. My friend Liam, who said he's going to take me. I've got to go. So
Liam, no, I don't know the guy.
Yeah. So I think the pricing is bad, but you've got to look at things really in terms of where we're trying to get to, where we've been, and if you want to stay where we were, you want to go where we're trying to get to, and if you don't want to go where we want to get to, then maybe you support a local team. But I understand the fans' frustration, but the experiences for me are worth the money that I'm spending, and that's all I look at. Value is there for me.
Of course,
I cried.
Did Liam ever tell you that what we call him on the podcast?
No.
We call him Longshanks. That's him, Longshanks.
What was that?
For Braveheart. Because his English accent,
I'll tell you though, if he's listening, what a boy though, what a boy. He had a very big impact on my life. I'll tell him that in terms of positivity. Great boy. But yeah, he's a Villa fan at heart, I think, personally. But
you're being too nice to him. He's a piece of shit.
He's a top one.
Right, okay. Home straight. Let's start talking about Wednesday night, right? And I love the fact you've got a bit of trepidation about it. I love that because I can't see us getting a result at all for a few reasons. But I am widely known as being Mr. Negative and pessimist and stuff. If you don't have any high hopes, you won't get disappointed.
He's my bit. And also, Aston Villa have let me down so many times through the years. I kind of expect it now.
Exactly.
I was at Wembley with my kids, and the Villa fans stood next to me went, "Don't expect it's going to happen very often, mate." So it's that kind of like, so Wednesday, I think, I haven't watched a lot of Celtic this year. I have to say that I haven't watched a huge amount, but it's such a big night for us. It's going to be rocking down there. I think you boys, there's a strong sort of Irish connection, not as deep rooted as you guys with Villa, when we had sort of McGrath, Staunton, Townsend, Houghton. So there's a mutual respect and for the clubs. I think there's a little talk that I'm hearing about Celtic fans being in the Villa end. I hope that doesn't happen and nothing gets silly. I hope it's a good game. I think the atmosphere will be absolutely electric. It will be sort of, with you guys there who are phenomenal fans, as everyone knows. I think it'll be an electric occasion, and who knows what's going to happen. But I do we deliver in the big games this season? Possibly, maybe. Bayern Munich we were sensational, but we had a bit of luck. I think we'll need a bit of luck on Wednesday. But again, I don't know you guys as well as I know sort of English
Of
team.
course.
But my natural as a pessimistic Villa fan is we're going to fuck it up.
Once again, I hope so. Right, so what do you think the team will look like? I know you've got the West Ham game, so it's a bit harder to predict. What do you think? So we're kind of agreed that the formation is going to stay the same. I would imagine, no matter how much you've got reticent about playing us, I would imagine that Unai Emery is confident in his team. So I wouldn't.
I'm not sure on that actually. I'm not sure in us.
Really?
If you look at the post Monaco press conference, it's the first time I've ever heard him sort of say that players didn't follow his instructions. So I don't think he is that confident in his team. The team will be, I would imagine, would be Martinez in goal. Luca Dean will play left back because he's more reliable than Maatsen. Maatsen's got potential. Konza Mings, Cash, and then we'll have two holders, which will be Kamara will play. I think McGinn is trailing and
right.
Won't play, so I think I'm not sure on that. So Tielemans will play, and I think we'll have Ramsey, Rogers, Bailey, Watkins up top, and Tielemans in there as well. So I think the team will pretty much pick itself because Onana's not fit, and I think we'll see what happens today at West Ham. I think that'll be quite important. What happens at West Ham today? Do we get any injuries? Do we rest players? When does he take players off? I think you'll see him take some players off after 60 minutes if we're in the lead. So we've got players missing. I think it'll be a really a fantastic occasion on Wednesday. I really do. I think that there's a strong connection between the fans from my side. I think so. I think it'll just be an absolutely fantastic occasion, and it's a shame we can't both kind of get into the top 8. So I think I think it'll be a great occasion. I would say we will win 2-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lost. But either way, I think it'll be a tremendous occasion. I just hope the fans behave themselves. I think you look at Rangers, Man United, I just think it's such a beautiful occasion. Celtic at Villa Park, and you just want it to be memorable. I just hope there's the few, as we know, there's always idiots everywhere in life. I just hope it's a good game and everyone walks away without any black eyes.
100%. I agree. I think that it's a nailed on certainty that we Celtic fans in the home end. It is a certainty. If they
why'd you say that?
Because it's Celtic. I mean, they've been away. There's been
everywhere. You've got ticket in the mate.
I don't know. But I'm not even. I'm not even travelling.
I just hope it all goes. There's a massive respect. I just hope that it's just. I know it sounds a bit cheesy and stuff, but it's going to be a special occasion. Let's keep it special.
The thing, Tony, is right. So I've got no kind of leanings towards Aston Villa at all. Birmingham, I never took to. I liked that. See, I was mad into the English Premier League when I was the start of the Premier League. I was mad into it, and God, I remember Aston Villa were one of the best teams in it, challenging for the league and stuff like that. And you guys like Ian Taylor, Dalian Atkinson, and all that, Dean Saunders, and Crazy Ron running it. Know what I mean? But so I have an appreciation. We always laugh on our podcast because we're all 45, 46. Jason's a bit older, but we're all much at an age that we can. That way your big clubs always stay the same, even though they might be shit. No. So Aston Villa to me are a big club, one of the biggest in England. And obviously we've done a wee bit of the history and stuff like that. I'm the same as you. I hope we go down. I love going down and meeting away fans. I love talking to guys like you. I love sitting there and we'll sit and have a bit of banter. We'll have a couple of pints and we'll go to each other's head. I think there's certainly going to be Celtic fans in. Hopefully they can respect what they're doing and keep their traps shut and no cause any hassle. I hope, as you say, it's a good game of football. Obviously, I want us to win. I don't think I will. I think we're selling Kyogo. Maeda's injured.
Yeah.
Two guys who'd be hugely important for us to get anything. But as long as we get down there and get everything we've got, I'll be delighted with my team. You know what I mean?
And that's what we want, isn't it? I suppose. I'm looking forward to it. I really hope. Well, I think if we qualify top 8, it's massive for us in terms of the rest of the season. So I think it'd be a great occasion. What's your score prediction, Scott? Come on, give me a score prediction.
God, I never ever do score predictions.
Well,
Ever,
this is
ever,
the
ever.
first time. This is the first time, mate. Come on.
But since you're a good guy and you've helped me, I'll go 3-1 to you guys. I think it'll be 2-1. It'll be tight. Celtic will be pushing and pushing and pushing, and you guys will score in like the 88th minute to kill a game, Stone. That's the way and McGinn will score, and he'll do one of the stupid things.
Listen, what a boy McGinn. Just a little bit on McGinn. I mean, what a boy. So, as our age, I think the old traditions of sort of being a lad, being funny, being solid, being amusing, but the old kind of fashion values, I guess, in a world where footballers are so robotic, and he's still funny, he's still loyal, he still has a crack with the lads, but proper bloke, and like he's got a special place at Villa Park forever.
Brilliant, mate. Right, okay, last one for you, Tony, and thank you for taking your time, because I know you've got this game coming up and stuff like that. The last one I'm going to ask you, what's your hopes for the season in general? Right, obviously winning the league, winning the FA Cup, and then winning that, going back to Munich and winning again for that's the dream. But what kind of takes you to, yes, we're back, we're in the right place?
I think it's a transitional season for us, really. We've accelerated quicker than we thought. I think this season is building the foundations to move on. So for me, if we can get Champions League in top, which should be top 5, I think, this season. So if we've got that, phenomenal. Winning something would be amazing. But again, I'm not expecting that. But I think top 5 and qualifying for quarterfinals of Champions League for me would be a phenomenal season. And then the young players we signed and the foundations we've done, and we could kick on again next season. So I think there's an element of realism. If we win something amazing, but I'm not expecting that. But I think Champions League and the revenue that drives in terms of our future status and PSR is really, really important. So I'll probably say top 5 and anyone. We've had some massive nights at Villa. Celtic coming on Wednesday and Bayern Munich. Anything ahead of that would be amazing. This year, my football club has made me cry. I've never had that before. With happiness, sorry.
With happiness,
with happiness. That's it. So for me, I think we've finished Champions League. We've had a great season. I think let's just, as fans, be patient and build, and let's enjoy Wednesday night. I think it'll be tremendous.
Amazing, Tony. Amazing. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it. Are you on social media if anybody wants to kind of give you a wee follow or something like that?
I'm on social media, but you don't want to follow me because everything I put out there is absolutely boring. Not really boring stuff. Like.
Give us a name and we can make a decision.
I think I'll send it to you because I can't even remember what it is actually.
Right, okay, I'll copy it in. So, Tony Bates, thank you very much for taking your time. It's been widely appreciated. I think it's been outstanding. You've helped me along, and I hope you have a fantastic season, but I hope you get pumped on Wednesday.
Good luck on Wednesday, mate. Good luck.
I like that. Good man.
What's up, man? See you later.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Bye.